So hello to Andrea
How's
Roller.
everything?
You're going by Andrea Gale too sometimes. What shall we call you?
Andrea Gale is my stage name.
We met at a funeral when you sang for a friend, and then you sang at our boy's wedding for us.
Yes. Yeah, those guys are doing it.
Yeah, they're
They
part.
are doing it. They're such beautiful human beings. I love them. I
Yeah,
do. I'm
yeah.
so glad I got to meet them and be a part of their life blossoming, you know?
Yes, yeah. Well, we're fortunate. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you were born and
Yeah.
raised St. Louis, born and raised in St. Louis. What high
I
school?
attended two high schools. I attended two. One was Webster Groves High School, and I was there until the middle of my junior year. And my dad moved further west. We moved, and I ended up being Parkway West.
So where did your passion for music come from? When did it start?
It was just in me. I was born with it. It I gathered it. It was in, and I realized that I could sing when I was 3 years old,
Did you?
listening to an album and watching the album go around and round, and I'm looking at it and this voice is coming out and something came over me. It's like I got covered that this is what I can do as well in a 3-year-old mind.
At some point, you moved to New York. When did you do that?
Moved to New York in 1987 after teaching here in St. Louis at a elementary. No, it was a middle school middle school music teacher, and I decided to go to New York to pursue music. I did a ton of work in New York. They had what they call the offices that they had there have I should say that would do private events and weddings and whatnot. I work with a lot of different offices as freelance and with other bands, a ton of them, lots of weddings, lots of private events, and also forming my own band and all of that, all music.
I read that you got to sing with the Shirelles. What was that all about?
Just one day, one afternoon, I get a call from Louise. She's passed on, a beautiful singer. Anyway, she says, "Listen, Andrea, it's bad weather coming from the West Coast to the East Coast, and our singer can't make it. And we're doing the Shirelles thing. One of the originals is will be there. Do you think you would be able to do it?" She says, "Matter of fact, I know you can." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I'll do it." And I'm thinking it's next week or the week after or what have you. And she said, "It's tonight." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And that was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, just come down to the theater. We were at the Beacon Theater in New York, and she says, just she says, you're quick with background harmonies and whatnot. We got it covered. You just come in and fill in the harmony. So that's how I got to sing with the Shirelles.
Maybe we should do Mama Said. That'd be good for Mother's Day.
Yeah, they did sing that. Yeah, yeah. I was sort of familiar with their songs. They were kind of the music was slightly ahead of me, but before me, I should say. But I knew "Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow." That's the Shirelles, right?
Hmm.
Sorry. But they were doing the leads, and I was filling in with the backgrounds, and I did it in four or 5 hours.
So I reached out to you because it's Mother's Day, and I remembered you had a special song you wrote as a tribute to your mother, My Sweet Mother. Tell me what inspired that song.
Scott, I had been wanting, as a songwriter, I had been wanting for years to write a song about my mother. And coming up on next year will be 50 years. I was a child. She was a young woman, 33 years old when she passed. And I started writing songs when I was a teenager. So once I started writing songs and doing CDs, it was always in the back of my mind. I want to write something about my mother. So what ended up happening was started writing songs about Mother Earth, just Mother Earth, just and there was this one groove, this one thing. I'm sitting, I'm writing, and I'm at the computer actually in my keyboard and recording, and I liked what I was hearing about Mother Earth. And it was about how the earth was nurturing and loving and full, and just about earth and supporting. And I'm writing the lyrics, leave it alone. Sometimes I walk away from songs that I'm writing and then came back to it, listened to it, and it's like the spirit spoke. So this is not about Mother Earth. This is about your mother. And the lyrics came like that. The rest of the song came like that. When I look in the mirror, I see her face close to mine. Yes, I feel her love deep inside my heart, even from the other side. And that happened while I was it's not an idea. That feeling, that support came just after giving birth to my first child. And I realized my mother was right there with me when I was going through labor. I felt her, and I had felt her off and on through the years. The very first time was a few weeks after she died. I was washing dishes. I was a kid, little girl, washing dishes, and I turned to talk to her because she was there as far as what I felt. So it had always been happening, feeling her. She'd greet me in a dream with such love and caring and open arms. And so it had been happening, but I really, really, really felt it when I gave birth to my daughter. So I feel her love deep inside my heart, even from the other side. When I look at her picture, I see more than her lovely face. And that came from maturing and realizing that she never left. I see more than her lovely face. I feel her love deep inside my heart, beyond time and space. She's an angel in heaven now, yet right here with me. Mother, my sweet mother, your love made me strong. Mother, my sweet mother, I'm still hanging on. And that was inspired from at her funeral. Only I had two. She and my father had two younger. There was three of us. I had two younger siblings at the time. So when my mother passed, and the funeral, and I was the only one that went. My brother and sister were 4 and 5 at the time. They were too little. Anyway, we viewed the body and whatnot, and the whole funeral thing. And then we were in the basement of my father and I were in the basement of the church, and we were sitting on this bench. We were just kind of sitting there, and people were around preparing food and whatnot. And he was sitting to my right, and all of a sudden I felt him kind of leaning over, and I'm thinking he's getting ready to stand up, but he was breaking down. And I held him. I was 10 years old, and I held him like he was a little boy, and he just broke down. He was 35. He was 35-year-old man, 33. My mother was, and they had 3 young children, and he had just been promoted to being a school principal. So things were happening, and then she passed. So that's what the lyric, I'm still holding on. It was holding on to my father.
Thanks for sharing so much and for allowing me to play your song in worship this week too.
Oh yeah, it's been ministering many, many people. I didn't write the song so much to minister to others whose mothers have transitioned, but I did find that it was like I gave birth to it, and it has its own I don't want to say agenda. That's not it. It has its own life. It has its own life. It was birthed through my mother. Her name was Zadie with a Z. And it was something that was instilled in me from the time she gave birth to me. So I realized, even though the song, the impetus was writing about Mother Earth, it was something that was in me the whole time.
the mirror, I see her face close to mine. I feel her love deep inside my heart, even from the other side. When I look at her picture, I see more than her lovely face. I see the one who truly loved me and still does, beyond time and space. She's an angel in heaven now, yet right here with me. Mother, my sweet mother, your love made me strong. Mother, my sweet mother, I'm still holding on. Oh yeah, yeah. Now I believe a mother never leaves her child, even though the physical fades away, spirit never dies. That's why in my reflection I can still see her face. A mother's love lasts forever and transcends time and space. She never left this child. She's right here with me. She never left her child. She's right here with me. Mother, my sweet mother, your love made me strong. Mother, my sweet mother, for you I sing this song. Your love made me strong. Oh yes it did. And I'm still